Ladies and gentlemen, the holidays are here, and can we be honest with each other? Most gifts are boring, but not this year. If you'll just listen to Uncle Chael, I've got the perfect gift idea. Fume. This is a flavored air device. This is as unique as it is awesome. Fume is not a vape. There's no nicotine. There's no vapor. There's no batteries. You're just gonna get pure, guilt-free flavor. It's perfect for anyone looking to break that bad habit, or even if you want to just enjoy something fun and relaxing. And with flavors like crisp mint and orange vanilla, trust me when I tell you, there's something for everyone. By the way, this isn't just practical, it's cool. It actually feels good in my hand, and it's made to fidget with. I don't know if you can hear as I'm turning this. It's perfect when you need something to do with your hands. And I haven't even gotten to the best part. This costs a third of what that bad habit does. So here's the play. Go to tryfume.com/Chael. When you get there, use the code Chael. That will get you a free Fume topper when you do the journey pack, and it will give me a little credit. Plus, your name's going to be submitted where you might even win a gold-plated Fume device. Yes, I said gold. This holiday season, you can give the gift of better habits. How would you like to have the best gift and you help somebody? Click on the link below, go to tryfume.com/Chael. Just make sure you thank me. Topuria's already said he'd like to leave 145. His coach touched on it and said he doesn't like making the weight. Cuts a lot of weight, has to do it every time. Would like to not have to cut the weight. Now, you got to understand, the number one reason that athletes retire, number one, is that they don't want to make the weight. There was negotiations going back and forth with Khabib Nurmagomedov, and they just kept on upping the number and adding commas and zeros. They were focused on the wrong number. They would have got Khabib to 30-0 or 29-1 if they made it at 170. Now, I'm giving you massive inside information, but this never gets understood by anybody ever. Parents don't get it. Girlfriends don't get it. Coaches don't get it. Managers don't get it. Promoters don't get it. The number one reason people retire is they don't want to beat that scale anymore. Now, how do you get Ilia out of 145 pounds? Well, before you say you just bump him up, well, you're not going to just bump him up. Divisions matter. And there are ways to get out of your division, but you got to fill in a lot of blanks there. And right now at 155, and I get that things change quickly, but right now at 155, there is not going to be an open door by Islam. The idea of being a 45-pounder and bumping up and making Islam eat all the pressure, that's already been satisfied when he did it with Volkanovski. And it is a tremendous ask to ask a guy to take on somebody who's got all the skills to beat you, but zero perception that he can. That is every fighter's least favorite spot to be in. Where they know in their heart they got a really tough task, but they understand in their mind the public does not view it that way. And to ask Islam to do that again is simply not realistic. So how do you get Topuria out of 155 pounds? And the quickest path, if you wanted me to lay out a path for you, the quickest path is I take him up to 170. And you're not talking about very much weight. Now, that's easy for me to say. And if you go by the cowardly boxing standards where every 3 or 3.5 pounds is a new division and you can have a new champion, and those fighters will actually complain over a 2 or 3 pound weight discrepancy, but they grew up believing that mattered. And you would have a lot easier path for Topuria at 70 than you would at 55. And before you say it's not big enough for 70, what difference does it make if you're going to leave a world championship behind and you're going to forge a new path and a new trail? What difference does it make? If it's at 55 or 70, 55's been done to death. That's what everybody wants to do. 70 at least is a new story. And the bigger problem with it is Topuria could be a star. He might be right now. It's actually hard to judge the level of popularity that Topuria has right now. He is a prime minister that's behind him. He is the biggest stars, male and female, movie stars, sports stars of an entire nation behind him. Like, Ilia Topuria is a really big deal. He's handsome and he puts the suit on. They had that thing with the rose that he was doing leading up to Volkanovski. I never really got it, but it was very classy made, and it was some kind of a spin on The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. I mean, these things just worked for Topuria. Topuria had one thing against him, which is the only fight that's ever been interesting, that he ever made interesting, is the fight that he never got, and it was with Mr. Hand Sanitizer, Paddy Pimblett. The only thing remotely interesting that Topuria has ever done on an opponent specifically had to do with Paddy the Baddy, and Topuria was willing to play. He didn't have that going into the Josh Emmett fight. He didn't know how to get that going into the Volkanovski fight. He didn't know which way was up between Rodriguez and Ortega. He stumbled upon it in the back with Paddy the Baddy on a fight that he could never get. So if you want to leave 145 pounds, there's a way to do it. I'm just here to let you know, 10 pounds, while really nice on the day that you're cutting weight, and oh my God, you're hurting and every single pound matters, 10 pounds is not very much weight. And it would be an easier path for me to lay out to a championship spot at 170 than it would be for 55. Now, I'm just one guy talking, but when you have a matter of I just don't want to cut the weight anymore, well, are we going to cut weight or not? I mean, if you're hurting and your career is on the line, you can't get to 145. I'm just to share with you, 155 is not very different. Easy for me to say. But it's not very different, so how do you avoid this spot in the future? If you want to be like Ilia Topuria, but you don't want to end up in Ilia's spot, you want to be a big star making all the money at the end of the show, you want world championship opportunities, and then you want to reveal to the world that you can't even make the class anymore. What do you do? What do you do and how do you do it? And I have my own story on that. I was 11 years old and rest his soul, the young man named Isaac Wood. We lost Isaac, real star. Real blue chip star. But I was 11 years old. I went to something called the Oregon Classic. And there was a weight class known as 75. And if you were anything over 75 but 180 or under, you went into the 80-pound bracket. Anything over 80 and under 85, they would go in 5 pounds of 5. And we'd never discussed cutting weight in my house or anything like that. And I got to that scale and I was supposed to be 75 and I was 75 and a half. And I turned around with the sheet and I came back. My dad had no idea what I was doing. He'd never seen me go to a scale and come back with a slip in my life. I start putting my clothes on and I start cutting weight. He didn't say a single word. He stood with me. It was cold. It was in February. There was snow on the ground. It was a very hard time of year to get a sweat going. And he let me run and spit and do all the different things until I could get down to weight. And then he told me, just so you understand, that was a chicken move. And I didn't understand. All the guys I had looked up to cut weight. Guys in this tournament were cutting weight. It was the first time I was going to be like these other wrestlers. I was going to be like the guys. He said, you did it to get away from somebody, and that's what a chicken shit does. Now get your stuff and I'll take you to breakfast. And that was that. I never cut another pound as long as I lived. And I looked down on the guys that do, because my dad was exactly right. I didn't cut weight to get to competition. I cut weight to get away from competition. And that is an interesting concept. And if nobody ever tells you or nobody calls you out on it, you'll think that you're just going on about it. But if your dad calls you out and lets you know you did this because you were scared and that's a chicken thing to do, then maybe you won't. But it was my story, and I do look at a guy that has a hard time making weight, and he's supposed to be such a tough guy, and we had a world title around him, and then I find out that he's cutting weight to get rid of people. It kind of lacks some of the honor. You're such a tough guy, but you can't go get on the scale and get into the cage. What difference does it make? And I know the answer. Please don't think you have to tell me, well, this guy's doing the same thing. We're leveling the playing field. You're talking about a handful of pounds whose coach himself says that 10 makes a big difference. That's 4 kilograms. You're a tough guy or you're not. Are you cutting weight to get to competition or are you cutting weight to get away from competition? Because one is honorable and one, in the words of Pat Sonnen, is a chicken shit.